up a dive. Feel the vibe, get ready to ignite. Untold stories in the airways, flying through the night. Experience voices, tales so bold. Streaming live, the truth unfolds. Untold Radio Network, where secrets come alive. New episodes daily, the mysteries thrive. Great guests, super chat, it's so I remember right. Share and subscribe, join the side where truth can't hide. Aliens in the attic, UFOs in the sky. Cryptids lurking, oh my, oh my. Ghosts in the hallway, whispering your name. The paranormal, the unexplained. Become a VIP, get the inside scoop. Unlock the mysteries, be part of the group. Live streaming stories, they're talking to you. Super chats buzzing, join the crew. Untold Radio Network, where secrets come alive. New episodes daily, the mysteries thrive. Great guests, super chat, it's a wild member ride. Share and subscribe, join the side where truth can hide. So if you've got the guts and you want to explore, tune into the untold, it's what you're looking for. From aliens to ghosts and all that's unseen. Untold Radio Network, where the world's mysteries convene.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Paranormal Spectrum here on the Untold Radio Network. I am your host, Barnaby Jones, from Cryptids, Anomalies, and the Paranormal Society. Today's episode is pre-recorded. So if you guys are tuning in here live in the comments section and we are ignoring you, we're not ignoring you. We're just not here. So, well, we're here now, but we're not here when you're watching us, if that makes sense. So anyway, that is what we got going on today. But I have an amazing guest here. I have been chatting with her for almost an hour here before we even started recording. So looking forward to continuing our conversation. Before we get to that, it is the holiday season, and you guys, if you want to show your support for all things cryptids, anomalies, and the Paranormal Society and help our research, you can head on over to wisconsincaps.com, click on Shop Our Store, and or you can go directly to tpublic.com/user/Wisconsin Caps, all spelled out the state. You can get all kinds of t-shirts, hats, mugs, tote bags, sweaters, magnets, stickers, all kinds of stuff with our logos and some cool designs and stuff on them, including our brand new holiday ugly sweater design. It is available now, and TeePublic has been running some awesome sales, 40 and 60% off all their stuff, and really quick shipping. It's about a week turnaround, so you can get it still in time for the holidays. If you order now. So make sure you guys get that stuff in. If you guys want to meet us in person coming up next year, We are going to be at the Contact Modalities Expo, May 1st through the 3rd in Delavan, Wisconsin. There's a whole ton of people going to be at this event. I'm not going to read all the names, but for those of you Untold Radio fans, Dean Bertram is also going to be at this event, so you can meet myself and Dean there. So cool time. Come on out and check that out. Of course, coming up Saturday, May 9th, we are going to be in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin at the Cryptids, Anomalies, and Paranormal Convention. Tickets go on sale in January, as well as the list of all of our brand new speaker and workshop announcements will come out then, so you guys can get all that stuff. We are going to be June 13th, Saturday, June 13th, at the Chicago Paranormal Convention, Countryside, Illinois. And looking way out, we're going to be in Belleville, Wisconsin, one of the UFO capitals of Wisconsin, one of the three, in October. More on that when it gets closer. We have an awesome guest here. I have known her for quite a while, but as we were talking before the show, we never got a chance to talk. Met a couple times at conventions and stuff throughout the years, but never sat down till today. So this is exciting. So let's get to it. My guest today is Deidre Sanford. She has always had a natural sensitivity to the energies and experiences others might overlook. Over time and through training in Reiki, Pranic Healing, psychic, and mediumship development, she came to understand that intuitive perception isn't rare. It's simply underrecognized. We all have the ability to sense more than we've been taught to believe. Today, she uses her intuitive gifts both in everyday life and in her work as a paranormal investigator. Her passion for helping others realizes that these abilities aren't just for a select few. We're all born with them. Most of us just need a little encouragement to start noticing, trusting, and exploring them. Deidre also utilizes her abilities and lived experiences in her practices as a certified trauma-informed coach and holistic therapy practitioner. Conversely, these modalities also come into play during paranormal investigations, where she has been referred to as the paranormal therapist. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show, Deidre Sanford. Welcome.
Hello.
We're going to now continue our hour-long conversation that we've been enjoying, and we decided to actually hit record finally here. So
It's a good thing we didn't run out of material.
I don't think we could. We have barely scratched the surface in this time. So, well, I'm excited. We've had a great chat, as I've said. Yeah. I'm looking forward to actually digging into more of what you do. So this is interesting. We're off to a great start. I wish we'd been recording this whole time. This has been great. But so now we have to remember everything we've talked about and just rehash it all, I guess. But
or just arbitrarily pick a place and we haven't talked about this yet.
Exactly. Let's start out with you. What got you into this? Where did this whole, start with realizing your abilities and coming into it?
There were so many different times in my life that things showed up in a way that they couldn't be ignored. So I had to go down the rabbit hole. Probably when I lived in Arkansas, all the unmined quartz crystal under the ground in Arkansas, I really thought I was kind of just losing my mind. And I didn't know very many people there, hadn't been there long. And so, you're afraid to talk to anybody because they're going to throw you in the loony bin. I worked at an assisted living facility, and one of our nurses on staff was paying attention. And we had some really good chats on our breaks. But I had moved into a home that was haunted. Only in my brain, I was just losing my mind. Mm-hmm. But working in an assisted living facility with grieving family members, dementia residents, etc., I would just take on the emotions of other people and suddenly find myself crying or on the edge of crying. I'd go home from work. I'd fall asleep in my chair by 5:30. I'd wake up at 7 almost every day. Energetically, I was completely drained. and still really didn't understand I was living in a haunted house. So thank goodness my friend came to my house, and she's like, girl, you got ghosts everywhere in this house. And things started making sense. One of the bigger standout events when I lived in that home was I went down the hall to use the restroom. I had a friend in the living room, and I had this overwhelming sense, we're not alone in the house anymore, are we? And I hollered that down the hall, and they're like, yeah, no, we're not. Okay. And I looked up, and my grandfather's face was in the bathroom window. My grandfather passed away when I was in high school. Mm-hmm. So I just mentioned that, oh, hey, grandpa's here. I wasn't really sure what to do with it. But then I got a phone call 2 days later that my grandmother, his wife, had just passed away. So other things began to unfold in this house. And somebody would knock on all the windows on the outside of the house every night when I went to bed. Like, I called the police. There's somebody in my yard knocking on my windows. So I think at that point is when I really had to, and got the opportunity to also understand and incorporate that there's stuff going on that we just can't explain. Mm. That's the bigger standout. I lived in a house here in Illinois when I was 7. We hadn't been there long. I walked my mom to the front of the house, and I said, you see those people over there? They're not here to hurt anyone. Mom had no clue what to do with it. She didn't know how to support it, but she didn't want to poo-poo it. So I spent the next 11 years living in that house, mostly afraid of that area of the house, especially at night. I did not want to be the only one alone or awake alone in that house. Different times, different stuff.
That's interesting. Do you think that your house was actually haunted, like that there were spirits there? Or we talk about this a lot, that people who have abilities act like this beacon. Do you think that they were coming because you were there, or do you think that they were part of the house to begin with?
I think it was probably both.
Okay.
I took somebody up to that house 13 years after we moved in. My parents were gone. I was checking in on the house, and we were walking around the side yard, and someone else was able to say, there's someone watching us from that window. But I also would agree that there was kinetic energy in that space, or buildup from the previous owner, who we were told by the neighbors was just not a very nice person. But we also found a cabinet closet full of empty liquor bottles. And were told that this not so very nice person was an alcoholic. So I think when we think about the energetics of things, there was a whole lot going on there that wasn't necessarily receptive and intelligent. But there was an intelligent being in that household. You know that meme that we see on Facebook all the time with the guy running up the stairs and the shadow running up behind him? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I spent all of my teenagers going to bed that way. Like peeking around the corner, running down the hallway, knowing I was being followed, slamming the bedroom door and pulling the covers up over my head.
Oh my God.
It was weird.
I'm going to come back to that.
Barnaby, I know the covers won't keep me safe. I know.
Yeah. Okay. We're going to come back to that. But I want to stay on this thing, because this is really important. It's really interesting when you do paranormal investigating, as I said in the beginning, and our team does as well. When you go to these locations, you have this energy or problem there that, okay, so the gentleman who was an alcoholic,
yeah,
was this because he was a bad person, or is this because there's an entity there that's causing him to have that negativity, the depression that's feeding it? And, so he's like, well, you're a terrible person. Nobody likes you, and so he starts drinking. And we see that in some of these cases where people get these attachments either because of location or something, and it snowballs into these, and it can snowball all the way to some catastrophes and stuff sometimes.
Yeah. I think that house had a lot of buildup of energy in it. And I never met the gentleman who lived in that home. It was the girls my age in the neighborhood who were familiar with him. And so I can't speak to that for that individual. But what we understand of the human energy field, there are activities that we may or may not partake in. We may or may not do these things that create cracks in our auric field that are destructive to ourselves, to our energy, to all those around us. And there are certain personality traits of active addicts, and alcoholism is an addiction, that show up because of that addictive pattern. Some people get clean and quit using, and that personality change never really takes place where they go back to where they were. So it's entirely possible. I can't speak to it for that person though.
I've always found this very fascinating because we've had some personal cases with CAPS, and it's really interesting that, well, there was a gentleman who took his life at one of these places, and now we're investigating a case there because the granddaughter there is seeing this entity, and bringing in my medium Stephanie, we find out that he caused this guy to have these thoughts and go down this road. And now he took his life, and now he's doing the same thing to the granddaughter who's now living there with their family and stuff. And it's just really interesting to think that some of these things that we blame on, trauma or, experiences and stuff are actually extenuated by the supernatural and stuff. And we think that, we're just entering depression and we can't get rid of it and stuff.
Yeah.
There's more to it than that.
Absolutely. I would agree that there can be. But then we also have cases of not so happy people and people who take their own lives because of their own life experience or their own self-perception. But alcohol is a depressant. And that's something that not everybody knows or understands. It can have the opposite effect, right? It can have that depressing effect. I think there's a lot of interplay between all of those. And I think it deserves to be studied. And it absolutely deserves to be spoken about more often. It's interesting, though, because when we think about children and how open they are energetically. And then we think about the things that we do or may choose to do as human beings that are destructive to us, our own mental, emotional, and physical health, but we don't know really about how destructive they are to our energy field. And how easy it is I went through my own addiction cycle, how easy it is to have those little chinks in our armor, if you will, where things can seep in. And then little ones are so wide open. Most of them aren't aware that we can protect our energy field or that there's a need to. So the openings that we provide, knowingly or not, that create opportunities for lower vibrational beings, I guess, to attach and influence, deserves more attention.
Absolutely. I have a couple notes I want to come back to, but I think this transitions very nicely into the topic of our show, which is root cause therapy.
Yes.
And I think this is, absolutely where we're going with this is why we are the way we are and why it causes us to have these things.
Root cause therapy is a holistic healing modality. When I'm working with root cause therapy, I am more focused on helping my clients understand what their limiting beliefs are. How do we get you where you want to go? I can't tell you how many clients have come to me and said, oh, I need to change so-and-so. No, you don't. And we can't work together if that's really what you want to accomplish. We need to realize that we are in control of how we respond. To bring it back to what you were talking about, what we're looking for is creating a more authentic, whole person and shifting self-perceptions and limiting self-expectation. But as I do the work with my clients, I'm also working in their energy field. We're not just working with psyche. So when we have all of these pent up emotions that most of us, let's face it, were never taught as children are appropriate, do need to be processed, And we individuals deserve to have that moment of heightened emotional expression safely without damaging others. When we're tinies, we don't know that. But that's also when we're taught, go to your room, stop crying, I'll give you something to cry about. So I think all of those pent up emotions actually genuinely influence our physical, mental, and emotional states.
Mhm.
How much does that align with what you're chatting about, or
Well,
what you are
it's
getting to
all,
with
I
your
mean,
question?
we're
And
on the
also,
paranormal spectrum. It's all part of the
right,
same thing. I mean,
right.
this is all connected. It's all part of your holistic
Hmm.
approach to your body. You know, it's your physical, it's your mental, it's your vibrational, it's all this is this holistic. And you know, like I never understood that. I started going to certain events and stuff, these metaphysical conventions, and going down these rabbit holes and stuff. And it's so interesting. The more of this that I learned, that the holistic approach is the whole body, the energy, the spirit, and all that. And
And
so
we're
it's
certainly not taught that in our society as it is today. Our Western medicine absolutely does not look at us as a whole being. I can remember when they did back in the 80s, 90s, and doctors of different specialties would get together and talk about a patient. They don't even really do that anymore.
no, yeah.
But that also kind of goes back to, who are we at soul level? So, as a mediumship, as a psychic, hopefully what I'm working with, we can work with spirit guides for clients or with clients, or we can work with the client's higher self. What is that higher self trying to bring to your attention? What are you missing through your own experience that you learned to block? So you're now missing that component. What did you shut down? Bullying helps form us in our later years. And the other thing that I think really kind of hits the paranormal spectrum, not everyone believes in reincarnation.
Mhm.
That's fine. I've had clients who don't believe in reincarnation go through root cause therapy sessions and suddenly find themselves in past lives. This was an incident that left a mark on my soul, so to speak, in a past life that I brought forward into my current life. And now I have this repeating pattern that I need to stop. When we go to trace that repeating pattern, it leads back to that past life. So we can bring things in to come to our attention so they can be healed in the current life. So I don't know, was this gentleman who was apparently such a big drinker, was he influenced by an entity, or was he just not a really super happy, nice person in the first place? There are so many different facets to all of this. Rabbit hole is a great way to phrase it. Absolutely.
Absolutely. I took psychology in high school, and
Hmm.
it's so fascinating because if you meet somebody and you talk to them for, you know, half hour, you get a really good idea, especially some of these people, you know what I'm talking about, that you understand like their whole life without
Yeah.
ever, like you don't have to tell me anything about your childhood. I know. I
Hmm.
know this is what happened. This happened to you. You were bullied, or, you had a good childhood, or I know why it is that you are the way you are because something happened to you that made you this way. I don't know the exact event,
Right.
but there's certain patterns that you start picking out, and you can start to. It's so fascinating. I love psychology and all the stuff that goes with it because it's really interesting, and
It's awesome.
people, it's like mediums and stuff. You know things about somebody without having to know it, just by talking to someone for a little while. And
And that can be a blessing and a curse.
yeah, I love when people are like, how do you know that? I'm like, well, because, and yeah,
It's just a feeling. It was just a thought I had.
it's just yeah.
But you already know, and I'm sure most of your listeners are already aware that those of us who have chosen to hone those abilities and to put them into use for various reasons, I use them all the time in my practice. And then, of course, investigations. Um, we don't walk around wide open 24/7.
Mhm.
We can't exist on that plane all the time, or we can't be able to communicate with people anymore. We're like, "Mm." So,
Absolutely.
but we do. I mean, there are times I'll be having a conversation with somebody. I am not actively reading them, but if spirit thinks or their higher self is trying to convey, I'm going to get it. And then what do? Right? Do you say something? Do you play into whatever how do you handle that? Just depends on the person.
Thankfully, I don't have that problem.
Ugh,
I
you
have
have
not
more of it than
taken
you
up
believe.
to that level of abilities or anything. I don't claim to be a psychic. I don't claim to be a medium or any of that stuff. I feel a little like empathic.
Uh-huh.
And that's I feel like empaths are like the lowest basic level of this, and everything kind of grows from there because you feel emotion, you feel energy first, and then you open up farther. So I'm right about there. But I've learned through doing the Estes method,
Mhm.
so the spirit box with the headphones and the blinders and stuff. I've learned during this I have what I guess I would consider mediumship abilities, where things come through and I see things, I hear things that aren't necessarily coming through the headphones and coming out of that radio. And I've been able to communicate things to people that there's no way that I should know and stuff. And so, but that's the extent of my wanting to be a medium or anything, because yeah, we'll just keep it in the radio.
But it's also a great way to describe being able to shut down.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, they say that the ability to hear, see, feel, know, is heightened often by static noise or white noise.
Yeah.
And you're kind of doing that with the spirit box. I can't do spirit boxes. They drive me crazy. They put my teeth on edge.
Definitely an acquired taste.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind being blindfolded. I've done Estes a few times. A couple times I've gotten some great stuff. A couple times I'm like, dude, get this thing off my head. But it depends. What filter do you have? What's the background noise that enables you to hear? For you, it's the spirit box. And having, like, you're basically desensitized to everything around you physically. You can't see, you're blindfolded. So that deprivation will also make those other senses come forward.
I had a really good chat with Chris Fleming.
Yeah.
And he said that the spirit box, he believes, or not the spirit box, but the Estes, he believes, because of the white noise, puts people in a meditative state. And you're getting these things not through the spirit box, but like you said, are enhancing those abilities. And I've always done like, interesting. And it took me a long time to open up to that. Like, I would see things and I wouldn't say anything. I'm like, it's just crazy. Whatever. It's just my imagination.
Yeah.
And I would tell people after I got done with the session, well, I saw this, and they're like, oh my gosh, that makes sense. Okay, well, next time I'll say it, and so by learning to put that out there, it's been a lot more open. So.
You just illustrated some of that, though, when you said, I didn't want to say anything to anybody.
Yeah.
Which begs the question, how often in our lives do we hear or know things? And I'm just picking those two because they're the most predominant, or feel things, I guess. Any of them. How often do we have those experiences in our daily lives and just blow it off?
Mm-hmm. I've had some interesting things, and the more I think about this, the more it's coming to that point of, I think it's what you guys are experiencing as mediums and stuff. We've had an investigation. I'll tell you this. It's the episode hasn't come out yet, but we're having a conversation with what we believe is an older lady, and she's in this room, this upstairs room of this house, and she's trying to communicate with us. And we're like asking her. She's giving us very direct responses, but it's taking a while. And I'm sitting here hearing things like, I'm getting there. Like, we'll say like, okay, can you make this light up? Now, can you make that up? And I just hear, I gotta walk over there now.
Yes.
You can hear the things in your head of this lady just going, I was just over on that side of the room. Now you want me to go back. And then, I tried to do the Estes, and I hear, I don't know how this works, and I'm just like, well, that didn't come through the Estes, but that's just the feeling that I got was,
right.
just exasperated. Just make this easy for me. You know, I can do the yes no box. That's it. Let's just focus on that. I don't want to. And the whole time we're doing this, I'm just hearing this little old lady just going.
But then, so if you were ready to own that and speak it
Yeah.
and share your experience in that moment, how much do you think that investigation would have changed?
Oh, I did do that in the moment. Yeah, I did
Good.
speak all that out loud.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah.
Do you think it made the investigation easier to be able to convey, hey, she's getting a little pissy because we're running her around
Oh
back
yeah,
and forth. Can
it
we
made
just
it.
let
It
her
made
sit
a
in
lot of
one
fun.
place?
Yeah.
And do you think she would have been more forthcoming with responses, et cetera?
Without that,
Or
oh,
was she? Do you think
yeah.
she was more forthcoming with how she interacted with you?
No,
Made it
but
easier?
I think it made it easier to communicate when we narrowed down. This is what she understands. This is how she can do it.
Okay.
So I think that helped. Just kind of, but there's other times like, another investigation. Like I just hear like, you know, you shouldn't be in this room. We need to go to this room. You know, and stuff like that. And I just ignore it. You know, because I don't want to do that.
I just ignore it.
Just ignore.
I have found that, and I don't know when or how or exactly where I developed the habit, but when we talk about this a lot as investigators, I know you do, respecting the spirits of the property that you're in, understanding this is their home.
Mm-hmm.
So when I move from room to room at an investigation, I'll pause at a doorway, or as I'm approaching the doorway, I'll start projecting out, you know, thought wise, hey, I'm coming into this room to talk with you. Is that okay? I'll ask permission to enter a different area of the home. And they've said no. And I'll be like, okay, well, do you just not want company, or is there a reason? Because I want to know,
Mm-hmm.
right? If we're here, we're proclaiming that we're here to get to know you, to understand you, and so that we can tell your story. Then if we're just barging into rooms, how are we respecting this person and creating an environment in which they want to interact with us?
That is a fair point.
Barnaby's like, yeah, no, they don't want me in here, but I'm going to stay.
I'll tell you this.
There's some legitimacy to that, though. I get it.
There's a couple episodes now. I think there's two, I think, out right now on our YouTube that you can watch. And I get kicked out of a chair because the spirit doesn't want me sitting in it.
Well, wait, like,
that's my chair.
chair.
Yeah, and I have to get up and leave. And my mom has been kicked out of several locations, out of hallways and even buildings and stuff, because the spirits don't want her in there. So
here's my question for you, because I've had that happen. I've been told by a spirit, I'm not talking anymore until she leaves.
Yes.
They want to be gone. So I started to leave the room. I'm like, okay, I don't want to interfere, blah, blah. And I started leaving. They're like, no, you can't leave. You're the only one she's talking to. Okay. What do you think the main reason is, that, or the one that you've run into most often when you're told, or you hear, or you understand they don't want you in that space? They don't want to talk anymore. What do you think some of the main reasons are for that?
Well, I got kicked out of the chair because it was their chair and they didn't want me sitting in it. And my mom got kicked out of the hallway because she yelled at the spirit.
Oops.
Yeah. So she's been kicked out of the same hallway at this one location a couple times, but the initial time that it kicked her out was it didn't feel safe, didn't like her there, because she had a ghost meter on the floor, and it was just going beep, 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 all the way off. And she said, I need you to back up from that, stop making it go off. And it didn't. So she's like, I'm going to take it away. I'm going to hit you with this. It's not, you can't do this.
Mom.
And then it got mad at her and kicked her out of the hallway. And every time we go back there, she goes, do you want me to leave? Everything lights up. She goes, fine, I'll go in the other room, and then everything acts up and talks to us, and it's fine. So, yeah.
Okay. Don't provoke the spirits, Mom.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
She yells at a lot of things.
Yeah. She gets her responses, I'm sure.
Oh yeah,
it's funny.
She's kicked out of a lot of places. But we've had another case. We had at the gentleman's club that we do the paranormal investigations. The spirit in the basement does not like any kind of Celtic crosses, Celtic
Ooh.
knots, or any kind of Celtic iconography.
Huh.
And we had this one public investigation there, and the one girl in the group was in there, and all their equipment's going off. REM pods, EMFs, all this stuff is spiking. And we have activity, don't get me wrong, but this is a lot of activity for this one area, like all of a sudden. And I said, well, hang on, guys. Does anybody have any of this stuff? Celtic, whatever, tattoos, jewelry, anything. And she goes, well, I have this necklace. And I said, okay, do you want her to leave? And everything spiked, went off, beeped, everything. She stepped out of that room, everything died, and they couldn't get anything to interact again.
Ooh.
So it definitely was tied with
that
it just didn't want her in there. So
have you been able to ask why?
I have no idea why. Well, we think that he was Irish, the guy that built the building, and the Celtic stuff isn't Irish, it's Celtic.
Mm-hmm.
And the Celts and the Irish didn't get along. Mm-hmm. So we think that's why.
Pretty old soul.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he was 1877 was when the building was built.
Wow, cool.
So he came over with his parents from the potato famine. So
wow. If I ever had the opportunity to go there with you guys, remind me of that, because my logo, which is based on a tattoo that Spirit showed me on my way to the tattoo parlor on Temple Bar. So
interesting.
If I ever get that chance.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'll have to schedule that too.
Amazing. Because, we talk about, well, maybe I think we talk about when we cross over, we go through our life review, we eventually, over a period of time, which of course differs per individual, let go of those earthly things that we learned and incorporated. So for him to still be hanging on to that all of these years later, that's impressive.
Yeah. It's one of the most active locations that we've investigated. I mean, you want to talk about respect and stuff. So don't get me wrong, I don't like paranormal tourism.
Okay, yeah.
I think that people go to these locations, they spend a night asking for things to light up, and they leave. And you're not getting any research, you're not investigating. It's just tourism at that point. So when we're doing these investigations at the club that we do, we actually had our mediums come in, set up all the equipment, and we said, do you want us to do this? Do you want people to come here and interact with you, or do you want us not to do these tours? Right. And we have 4 or 5 spirits that are always there. And 3 of them said, yes, we want to have this conversation. We want people to come. The other 2 are like, no, not really. And so we said, okay, there's one area of the building that is off limits because of other reasons and stuff there. And we said, is it okay? Do you guys want to go hang out there when we do the tours and you don't have to interact? And they all said yes. And the rest of them were like, great, we want to still, mess with people and do stuff and have these things. So the other 3 spirits are very active when you come to visit. And there's a couple other ones there as well now. But there's quite a bit that they do. And the other ones just kind of visit as they want.
But I love that you showed them the respect of inviting their input and Absolutely. Found a middle ground, found a way to work with those who want to participate and those who don't. Because it's so imperative to show the respect and to gain the cooperation and establish those relationships.
Well, like you said, there are other entities. There are other things out there that aren't necessarily good or benevolent. But the majority of these cases, when people say they have a demon at their house or something, is just a past family member or somebody that used to live in the house or just a person. And when you have to treat them like a person, especially if you want answers and, like you said, the respect of asking if they walk in a room or something, to get that. But
yeah, I was at an investigation with another medium who's amazing. But we had to have that talk about curiosity. Oh, there's something in the bathroom. I'm like, cool, let's go. No, you can't go in there. It's really mean. It's really nasty. I think it's evil. I'm like, why? I just do. Okay. But I can't go in there. That's what I came here for. find out who's here, what's going on, what's their story. And we ran into something else downstairs where it was active. And I got the same response. Oh, they're really angry. Oh, they're bad. Don't talk to them. Well, I want to talk to them. They're here for a reason. They're angry. Dig deeper. Why are they angry? Paranormal tourism to me, when you said that, is like, oh, it's angry, it's evil. There's this really bad, horrible thing. We got to go. Okay, maybe that's absolutely valid and you should go,
Yes.
but give it that extra beat or give it a little effort and establish the relationship with that energetic being. This guy was angry because he was a jilted lover and the female was still in the building as well. They kind of kept their distance, but it was almost a constant reminder for him of being a jilted partner. And that's what they were angry about. So no, they're not evil. They're not demons. They just aren't very happy souls.
See, when you said that, I got this picture of, like the thing in the bathroom's angry, it's mad, doesn't want you in there. It's like, well, if this is their house, if they live there, they're in there taking a shower, and these people keep walking in the bathroom on them, I'd be pretty ticked off and start throwing soap and shampoo and stuff too. Like that's what I'm seeing. Like, this isn't a demon. No, it's just somebody taking a shower.
Respect my privacy, please.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what we don't realize, or a lot of people that do these paranormal investigations don't realize that, it's as simple as that. You walk in the bathroom every time and the shower curtain flies shut. Oh, it's a demon. No, somebody's in there taking a shower.
I was in a private home one time, and there was activity in the house for sure. Some of it was emanating from one of the people who lived there. But there was a spirit or two without question. And one of the spirits was very, very shy. Traumatic life, not been treated well, didn't want to interact with other people. And I legit had to go to the bathroom when we were there. So I walk in the bathroom and the shower makes noises and turns itself on. When I was there, I walked in the bathroom and of course I'm doing the little, hi, I need to come in here. I'm so sorry if I'm bothering you. And I started talking to the people in the hall and like, this person is in here. They're hiding in the shower until we leave because they're shy. They don't want to be noticed. They don't want to interact. They're not here to cause problems, but leave them alone. Give them some privacy. Maybe work with them to set some parameters. They wanted to open this home as a public venue and wanted to make sure that the spirits would cooperate. Okay. Responsible, reasonable. Set some parameters with this one. Tell it, exactly what you guys did. Where does this person want to hang, or this soul want to hang out where they can have that privacy that they're looking for? Mm-hmm. It's not necessarily demon.
Absolutely.
But why are you angry? That's what we're here for, right? We want to tell your story. We want to get to know you. We want to understand. So why are you angry? I get that you're angry. I'm not going to run away. But we're also taught, there's your dynamic, right? We're also taught when we're children, we can't have temper tantrums. I was taught the only way that I was able to acceptably display anger was to go in the garage and pound nails into boards, stomp up the stairs, or slam a door. So why did I think for most of my life I didn't have a voice? Okay. So when we run into anger, because we don't cultivate healthy anger in our society, we run into anger, it feels offensive, it feels heavy, it feels really angry, really scary. But why are we angry? It's always the first, even for us, it's the easiest emotion to reach for, but there's usually at least one or two other things behind it. So whether we're dealing with dead people or living people, what's the reason for the emotion and what's behind it? Paranormal therapist.
I was just going to say, yeah. So I'm bringing this back to this conversation here now. So when I picture this, I think hopefully maybe some of my audience has all seen Casper. And, have you seen Casper?
I'm not sure. Yeah.
I don't even remember this. I don't know why it came in my head, but there's scenes in there because her father that moved into this house, he's a therapist, and he takes Casper and puts him on the couch, and he's doing therapy sessions with him
Perfect.
and with the uncles and stuff as well. And that's what I'm picturing here. So
That's funny.
is this what you do? You go into different locations and kind of like talk it through with the spirits to see why they're angry or why they're upset. What is it that you do?
Sometimes I do that out loud, and sometimes I do it in my head, but I have done exactly that. And I mean, the public venue in which we found, here's the angry guy. What are you angry about? All he needed was a little compassion. And it was really born out of, I think for me, finding a way to get myself to be able to stay in a space that was that energetically overwhelming and perhaps uncomfortable. And I don't think that I was able to really cultivate that until I learned to do that with human beings. You know, how do we help lift you out of this pattern? What's keeping you stuck in this place? Okay, now we're going to ferret through all of that. Where were we? Oh, a fairly well-known location. I kept running into these crotchety, grumpy old men. And
living or dead?
They were dead. Okay. Well, I mean, I run into them in life too, but these guys are dead. But because of the nature of that facility when it was functioning at capacity years ago, these men were full of shame. They were full of guilt. It was a simple question. If we're here to tell your story, and I know you're in this room, and I can feel that there's a bunch of unhappiness here, I'm going to ask, what's going on? They come back or stay because it was a place of solace. It was a place of comfort, and it was in fact a place of rescue. But their soul, when they got there already, they were crushed at a soul level. They had gotten to the lowest of the low. They'd lost everything, and they had to have a place to go. And this is where they happened to be. So even though they still carried that energy, even though they were in a quote unquote safe, sheltered place, they were cared for. But man, you get down to that last dime and you got to go live someplace else and bring your family. The amount of male protector, male provider guilt and shame is permeable in this space. It's crazy. So yeah, that was Christina, the one that said that. She's like, paranormal therapist. Like, okay. So I suppose that, yeah, I guess that's true.
Do you find that, you talk about these people having shame and, not wanting to be shy or stuff like that. So when you go into these spaces and you say, I want to tell your story, do you find reluctance there? Not because they don't want to interact, but because they don't want to share their story. They don't want people to know their shame or their problems.
Yeah. And it's not always that I want to tell their story. It's that I want to understand.
Right.
Tell me your story. But it's worked both ways. So I'm with you. As human beings, our society does not help us develop the capacity to sit with an uncomfortable emotion. I know full-grown adults, the only emotion they can identify or name is anger. But there's a whole lot going on underneath that. So we're not taught, we're not prepared in most stages of our lives to process those emotions, to sit with them, to let them run through. Our emotions are supposed to, I don't know who made the rule, that our emotions are supposed to electrically run the circuit in our systems for about 90 seconds. But we as human beings are curious, and we're frightened, and we are in fight or flight because we have to hide our emotions to be safe and accepted. And that's a pattern we learn as teeny tinies. How do we get out of that as a society? Many of us are learning as adults that it's okay to have emotions, to speak about them, to interact on an emotional level. But how do we get rid of that? Because look at it's affecting people after they die. We need to improve this for everybody.
You deal with it now, or you're going to deal with it then.
Well, call me cuckoo, but I had to learn for sure. I was completely shut down as a child in order to stay safe. So now I don't shut up. The kindergarten teacher called my mom and said, hey, I'm worried about your daughter. Can you come in? So mom goes in for the conference and the teacher says, yeah, she doesn't talk to anybody. She doesn't interact with the other students. We're very concerned. And I was in school like a year ahead. No, sorry, I was in school a year behind. Everybody else took driver's ed like sophomore year. I didn't get to take it till junior year. So I'd already been put in. I'm a November baby, so it's a wonky timeline. Mom came home and talked to me, and I said, oh yeah, I don't know all their names. 2 weeks later, teacher called back, hey, we can't shut her up. She acclimated, she got comfortable. Careful what you wish for. But there was a reason that I needed to, and I don't know, are empaths born or are empaths made? I needed to shrink and keep quiet because we had a narcissistic raging alcoholic full of anger in the house in my very young formative years. And we're aware of that even in the womb because we're picking up mom's energy. We're picking up the energy of the space. So that's one of my favorite questions. Are we born empathic and open? Joe Dispenza would say yes, based on our brain vibration. But others would say, oh no, empaths are born.
Nature versus nurture.
Yeah.
I think you're born with it.
I think we're all born with abilities.
Yeah. I think, like I talk about this on the show all the time, I think it's not beaten out of us, but what was the
taught out of us.
Yeah, your social network and stuff is taught out of us that you don't have an imaginary friend. There's not a monster under your bed. There's not all these things, and okay, well then that's not real. There's no such thing as aliens. There's no such thing as ghosts. It's just your imagination. Go back to sleep, and so growing up, we don't have psychic abilities. We don't have the empathic abilities. That's all, fairy tale stuff.
I think that creates a twofold issue. Because when we talk about brainwaves, and stages of brainwaves, we come in open and we're absorbing everything like little sponges. So yeah, maybe we are seeing those things. How many littles do we know that are reporting imaginary friends, but without questioning, it's just an imaginary friend. But when you engage in conversation with the child, it's the grandfather that they never met because grandpa died before they were born.
Right.
Or something like that. Or somebody from a past life. So that's one, that's a very natural ability. And we're discounting it by telling them, oh, you don't have an imaginary friend. But at the same time, if there's a monster in the closet and we're not emotionally helping this child process that and helping them find their power, now we can't display fear. And we're teaching them in that very moment at that little teeny tiny age, self-abandonment. So now we have a bunch of people that aren't empowered. I was at a house recently. I went to do a private party. And the mom said, oh, my son sees a monster in his bedroom. And the son was old enough to engage and process, but still very imaginative and very open. And so I was asking the son about it. And he said, yeah, he's got red eyes. And we did the whole thing. I said, do you want to show me? Would it be okay? So we went up to the bedroom and mom said, yeah, even when she was nursing him in the rocking chair, there are 2 panels on the mobile above his crib that would move, just 2. The rest would stay still. And what we found was it was the mom's grandmother and something that the child was interpreting that didn't feel heavy, didn't feel ick. But of course, it wasn't in the space when I was there. So we talked to the kid and we asked him his emotions. We worked through it with them, and his grandmother is open. So grandma had already gotten a good handle on this. And at the end of the day, we decided that we're going to give the kid monster spray. And we even talked about, so what happens when the monster gets hit with your monster spray? And this little boy looked at me and he said, cake. His mom said, it turns into cake. We hit it with the monster spray and it turns into cake. Now it goes from something terrifying to one of his most favorite things in the world. And now he's an alchemist, right? So much fun. It was so cool.
So that is really cool. And I'll tell you why, because I'm kind of an atheist, whatever. I don't believe in a higher God entity. I believe that there's an afterlife and all that. But it's always bothered me that people put their faith in a single deity, that God or Jesus or Allah or whoever existed. And when you say, like, in Jesus Christ repels you and the demon goes away, right? That's always bothered me. And then it started to make sense finally that it doesn't matter what you believe in. And in this case, it's your monster spray, right? It's the intent and the power that you put into it. So if you believe that if a demon shows up in your bedroom and you use a cross and the power of God gets rid of it, it'll go away. If you believe that this monster spray is all powerful and will make the monster go away, it will, because your energy is what's causing this to kick the entity, the demon out. It's self-empowerment there. And I love that. That is just another. Yeah, that's awesome. I love it.
But and to your point, if we're praying to a specific God, goddess, whatever, and things are happening for us, if we're praying for these things to happen or to stop happening and we get the result we want, are we handing over our power or are we reinforcing our faith?
I think it depends. If you're praying that something happens and you actuate it, you are manifesting, right? You're giving yourself that power, like, I really want this job, I'm going to work hard to do it, I need your help getting it.
Yeah.
Or are you saying, oh, please, I really need this, I want it, and then you don't get it? You're losing that faith in whatever deity it is that you're praying to, because you're not getting those things, because it all comes from you. And I'm not saying that these other deities don't exist,
right?
But it doesn't matter what it is that you believe, as long as you have that intent and that belief behind it, because that belief is the power, that energy that's causing these things to manifest for you.
Energetics.
Yeah, I love it. I have to circle back, and you've kind of touched on this again, so it's good to circle back to these monsters under the bed.
Talking in circles.
Yes. You said you had this running up the stairs in the dark because
you're running down the hallway.
Oh, the hallway.
Yeah.
So yours is running down a hallway.
Well, then, the Facebook reel meme thing that we see all the time is running up the stairs. Mine is just looking left, running down the hallway. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
I don't do that anymore.
I still do.
Well, I think under the certain conditions, I absolutely could,
but I have Alexa now, and I can turn lights on and off without being around it. So I don't have to worry about running up the stairs in the dark, because she'll take care of it. I can't say that too loud because she'll and hopefully I've just triggered somebody else's that's listening to this podcast on their speaker. So, well, hopefully. Anyway, are you a Doctor Who fan?
At the time Doctor Who was popular, I was absolutely not prepared for it. Okay. I feel like now I could be a lot more on board.
Okay. This is a newer episode. This is the Peter Capaldi Doctor Who. And it's my absolute favorite episode. And I've talked about this on shows before. It's called Listen.
Okay.
And the whole premise of the show is, why are we all have these same memories, lizard brain things of, like you said, running up the stairs because something's chasing you up it, the creature in the closet, the monster under your bed. We all have these visions. And it's like, if there was something there, what would it do? And he writes at the beginning of the episode, as he's going through this whole monologue, and he writes, "What would you do?" on the board, this chalkboard. And he turns around and he's yelling and stuff, and he turns back around and everything's erased, and it just says "listen" on the board. I love it. It's such a good episode. It's all about like this creature under the bed and stuff, and my favorite absolute episode of Doctor Who. But
that's actually a really cool portrayal of what we do on investigations. That's awesome.
So, my question: What do
Yes.
you think this is? What lizard brain mechanics of nurture versus born? Why do we have these things? Why are we all afraid of what's in the closet, what's under the bed, what's chasing it up the stairs or down the hallway?
I don't know. I really don't know. Interesting question. I've never really thought about it before. I mean, are we all afraid to sleep with our toes hanging over the end of the bed because the monster's going to grab it? I
Yep.
had to train myself for medical reasons. I had a cast on my leg. I had to train myself to sleep on my tummy. My feet have to hang over the edge of the bed because of my foot positioning in the cast.
I'd just rather
So I had
not.
to learn to let go of that. I don't know. What is it? Universal consciousness?
Yeah. But why?
I don't know.
What is in those liminal spaces that comes out? And oof, God, I just love that. It's my favorite episode of Doctor Who. It's my favorite, like, just and I still like, if I go up a dark set of staircase, I
Mhm.
feel like something's following me.
I just don't like stairs. I have no idea why. I just don't like stairs, but maybe that's why.
Yeah.
Because there was a whole other house that I lived in for the first almost probably 5 years of my life that had 2 sets of stairs. I don't know.
I want to get to the bottom of that. There are
I
certain
don't know.
things.
Well, okay. Good question. And I kind of ferreting through some responses on it and rejecting things but it still would beg the same question: is where did it come from? If we are born women, this is weird. If we're all born, women especially, with all of the eggs, right, we're ever going to have in our lifetime,
Mhm.
what material makes up those eggs? DNA. Where does that DNA come from? And when we extrapolate that back, what are the experiences of our ancestors or traumas or emotional of our ancestors that we're actually carrying in our DNA? That's not even ours, but it affects us.
Mhm.
So how far back in humans' lives do we need to go to find that common theme? To answer the question, why do we all have this same fear, concern, night terror? That's where my brain went. You're like, why do we do that? I don't know. How far
Well,
back can we go?
we have to go back into fairy tales and mythology and
Yeah.
stuff of ancient history to see what used to chase us up the stairs.
Tyrannosaurus Rex. He couldn't reach us anyway. I don't know why.
I picture, so I think I know the exact meme that you're talking about is like a basement staircase looking or doorway, and then this like werewolf creature thing is chasing the guy up the stairs.
It's just a shadow figure that's chasing him up the stairs
Okay.
in the one that I saw. But it
I've
makes
seen
me
them.
laugh so hard because it's so relatable,
Yes.
you know? And I love that as a male, you're willing to admit that there is that little creepy sensation of what's behind me.
Oh yeah.
Pterodactyl. but then it makes it funny because pterodactyl has those short little arms and he can't reach you anyway.
I've never thought a pterodactyl was following me up the stairs. I'll be honest on that. But
Yeah, but it could happen, right? If you imagine this thing and it's behind you on the stairs as a pterodactyl, now it's funny. It's not frightening.
yes, but I like to be a realist.
It's like, that's a reach, but okay, I'll give it to you.
Yeah.
But the next time that happens and you think pterodactyl, you're going to laugh.
I'm still going to run like hell. Yeah.
That's fine. You can
It's all
run while
fun
you
in
laugh.
my face. Yeah. It's still going to happen. Awesome. I have one, since we don't have a live audience, I have one last question for you here, and we're going to wrap things up. And I would be remiss if I didn't come and circle back to this from the very beginning of our conversation. I wrote it down while you were chatting here. Because the Thanksgiving episode a couple weeks ago of the Untold Radio Network on Squatch and Holler, it was me and a bunch of other show hosts and stuff. We had a discussion about this, about areas that have quartz crystals under them.
Okay.
And you mentioned that you used to live in Kansas and
Arkansas.
I'm sorry.
Adjacent. Kansas adjacent. But yeah.
Okay. It was the beginning conference. I wrote down quartz. That's what I wrote
It's
down.
all good.
State doesn't matter. Anyway, and we had this theory is, do areas that have quartz have higher activity of paranormal and cryptids?
Ooh, I don't know that they have higher activity, but I can say that living in that area absolutely blew me open. Kind of makes sense though, if quartz is a power up.
Yeah.
Right? It would make sense. But I think I wonder if maybe some of our more mild mannered cryptids, ghosts, whatever, may stay away because of the increase in the electromagnetic field or the increase in the vibe based on the quartz.
Like
I think it could work both ways.
The negative stuff stays away.
Well, I don't know that I would say that, because there was certainly a very low vibe, energetic being in that home that I lived in. I don't know that I would say it makes them stay away. It's an amplifier, so it doesn't necessarily, quartz crystal
it's not
amplifies.
a protector. It's an amplifier. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would think that, I don't know. I would think that not necessarily more low vibe, but things that need more energy to exist, to keep on keeping on, might be attracted to the energetics for the boost. And so can it give weaker spirits who need an energetic charge, can it give them the boost that they need? So could it just be simply that the quartz amplifies and makes that energy more available for them to utilize? And that can be interpreted as higher rate of activity.
The other side of this is, okay, is it amplifying the creature, entity, whatever, or is it amplifying us in order to experience them?
Can it be both?
It can, yeah.
How can it amplify one if it's not amplifying the other? Because we're all at the core of it energy anyway. I definitely think that living in that area boosted my abilities, brought them more prevalence, and maybe raised my vibration. I needed some help with that at that time anyway. So
you know, we spoke on this earlier. This is today's show is not live, it is pre-recorded. But I know if this was live, you know, Lee Warner.
Yes.
And Lee Warner asks all my guests, so I'm going to go ahead and do this.
Cool.
If you don't mind answering, what is your blood type?
I do not know.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. I love this question, Lee. Thank you for bringing it up, Barnaby. So when I lived in Denver in my early 20s, I was told that I was negative and that I needed a ROGAM injection. Many, many, many years later, for some reason, so I was in Denver 30 plus years ago. I've given blood a few times since then. And yes, I was confirmed to be negative, and they wanted my blood.
Negative what?
I don't remember. I used to even have a donor card that said. But the last couple of times that I've been typed, I was not negative. Which leads to a whole other conversation.
Does.
Yeah.
So you know Lee Warner. Do you know the history behind this question?
I think it has something to do with the connection to the alien farm, or alien families, alien branches, alien farm. I don't know where that came from. Alien branches.
And this does go back to Lee Warner was in the audience on the Thanksgiving episode that we did that I mentioned earlier. And we polled the audience on there. And I want to say 75% of the audience was O negative.
Wow.
All of us hosts, except for myself and Jeff, are O negative.
Huh.
It was really weird. And so now I've kind of carried this on that
Yeah.
I'm trying to get more information on this for Lee and the other people that are interested in this. But it's
That's pretty cool. I recently saw something on Facebook that said, like correlated blood types with Palladians and Sasani, and different families. Yeah, I didn't process it all, but I wonder.
I'm not too into blood and stuff like that, so I don't know. But how rare is it for a blood type to change?
I think it's pretty freaking rare. I think you're born with a blood type, and that is your blood type for life.
I thought so. Even with transfusions and stuff, because you have to, your body will reject it if it's not the right blood. So you have to be compatible. So the fact of changing blood types is...
Well, that's what's so weird. If it were just the one incident when I lived in Denver, when I was typed as negative, and then everything else was positive, I would just assume that the facility I was at in Denver was wrong and move on with my life. But there were times after that I was typed for donation and I was negative.
When Lee watches this episode, I know I'm going to get messages.
No, Lee's going to message me.
She's going to message you. I need more information.
Let's go down the rabbit hole.
Nope. See, that's the problem. We both know Lee outside of this show.
Yeah.
Personally met Lee. And so Lee's great. Lee's
and we adore her. She's an amazing human being. Absolutely.
I love Lee. But there you go. All right. That's it. We are going to wrap things up. There's so much more. I'm excited that we finally got a chance to talk here. And I see I am, if I'm not mistaken, I think I'm scheduled to be on your show coming up in January.
That would be a show that is not existing just yet.
Oh, never mind. I don't know anything about that.
So if you're forecasting that I'm going to have a show come January, you never know. It's possible.
Am I not supposed to talk about this, or do you?
No, I don't have a show anymore. I haven't had a show since WLTKDB shut itself down.
I swore. Oh,
do you have an old?
I apologize. I am not on your show. It is another lady who's used to be on WLTK that I'm on. I'm on Heather Lee's show.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I don't know why, but I had thought that I was on your show, and that's why I was like, well, you should come on mine then.
Well, I mean, if you want to come and join a chat in my private group, that'd be awesome.
Sure.
I always tell them if there's a topic you want to talk about, and I will tell you, I don't know, but I'll go find somebody to come join us. So,
well, I think you need to start a new podcast because apparently I'm going to be on your show in January. So
okay. Well, it sounds like you're going to be my premier guest.
There we go. Awesome. Well, I will definitely have to have you come back because I know there's some stuff that we've brushed on before this that we should come back and chat on more. So
it would be my honor.
Awesome. I appreciate it. I'm so happy we finally got to chat and it's a small world with our friend circle, and it's weird that we don't know each other more, I think. So. All right. Tell everybody, since you don't have a podcast, how can they reach out to you if they're looking for services or need some paranormal therapy and your other stuff? What do you do?
Therapy. That's so funny. My website currently is Deidre, DEIDRE Sanford, just like the pen.com. And I am on Facebook under my name. And also my business page is Deidre and Friends, but also so is my private group. Come join the private group. We meet every Monday night at 7:00, and you wouldn't believe the things we talk about. Last week, we were breathing life into inanimate dragons.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Dragons. Very cool.
Gotta be dragons.
I have your website is in the show notes for everyone, and I will hopefully by the time this airs, because we're pre-recording this, I will get your links to the Facebook if you want to send me them after the show here. I will get them in the show notes as well for everyone so that you can follow and check that out. So
okay, super. Thank you, Barnaby, for the opportunity to come and just visit with you for the afternoon. It was awesome.
Oh, absolutely. It's been let's see, we've been at this for an hour and 14 minutes, and so we've been going for about 2 hours, me and
Yeah.
you. So that's awesome.
There you go.
And the things that people missed out in that first part of that conversation, I swear, that was a good one.
Should have been recording.
Yep. Tired. But we will have the conversation again, and we'll definitely have you back and chat more. So
Sounds great. Thank you.
absolutely. All right. You take care. I'll talk to you later.
You do the same.
All right, guys, that is our show. We will get the links to her website in the show notes, as well as the Facebook groups. And hopefully when this airs, you'll be able to just check that out and go like, subscribe, and share for all of her stuff. And yeah. So until next week, guys, thank you all for tuning in. Remember to like, subscribe, and share all things here on the Untold Radio Network. Go check out those other shows. And if you want some more continuation or context to this, like I said, go check out Squatchin' Holler, the Untold Radio Network Thanksgiving special. Myself, Jeff, Doug Hychek, Roger, the host of that show, and Chris. We're all part of that show and had some very interesting discussions about quartz crystals and O-negative blood types and a lot of other stuff. So go check that episode out if you haven't. So until next week, guys, remember, we're all part of the paranormal spectrum. Take care, be well, and I'll see you next week.